Hello, my name is Dr. Shadi Shahnavaz and I'm a family therapist in the Family Ties team at the Anna Freud Center. Today we're going to be talking about vulnerability cycles and try to understand what that means. We often react and respond to situations and interactions through our resonances and lived experiences in our childhood and our past. This is why we respond differently to the same situations. So, for instance, I might be with a close friend and we might encounter someone who'll be talking in a specific way. He might be using a specific tone of voice and gestures. My friend might find it very pleasant to be talking to this person, whereas I might start to feel that I'm getting quite irritated, upset, and I can feel almost something physical happening inside of me. This is because our lived experiences are very different from the past. So maybe this person probably reminds me of someone who I didn't have a very good experience of in the past, and therefore I feel like I'm getting a bit triggered. In a couple relationship, we can sometimes see that in each of the parents there is what we call a vulnerable child in the adult. And this vulnerable child is the one responding to the person in front of them, to the couple, to the partner, in unhelpful ways that can lead to destructive patterns in the parental couple. So if you imagine that this person that I'm responding badly to, if that's my partner and the way that, and they happen to say things that get to me, and I respond in a bad and quick, spontaneous way, you can see how it can cause a vicious cycle. The vulnerable child in me is responding to something which can cause my partner to be caught off guard and wonder why I'm responding in that way, because our partners don't often know our resonances and our past and what we may or may not respond to and get triggered by. We ourselves are often not aware of why we get triggered by something our partner might say or the way they might say it in. This can make us feel very vulnerable, and we may, subconsciously attack or withdraw from the situation. We just know that we respond to certain things that irritate us without being able to trace it all the way back to a specific event or an experience that we've had in the past. However, we can get to know our triggers better with the help of professionals who can help us think about what makes us feel more vulnerable at certain times and look back and have a look back at where these vulnerabilities may come from. Past wounds are often triggered from childhood and adolescence experiences because that's a very large part of our lives where we've had to rely on others for care and for love. So that's why we often say that these wounds come from childhood and adolescence, because you naturally are vulnerable at that age. But these wounds can also come later on in life from a relationship that you've had in the past, where, for instance, your ex-partner was aggressive or violent, or had anger issues, or used to withdraw from you and give you the silent treatment. A new partner who may be completely unaware of what they are doing or saying is a trigger to you may open these old wounds inadvertently. So, for example, if your current partner doesn't speak to you for a few hours because they are busy, you may get triggered by this because it's reminding you of the anxiety you experienced when you were treated by your ex-partner with his silent or her silent treatment. You then respond to that anxiety, reacting in a bad way. Your partner won't know what is going on, and you won't be able to explain it to them because you won't be aware of where this is coming from either, unless you've had a chance to talk about it and think about it with someone, a professional usually, or your network. When the wounds are triggered and activated, our stress levels increase and become quite high. And when we're stressed and anxious, of course, we're not able to regulate our thoughts and emotions as well as we usually can. These triggers also tend to catch us by surprise, and we therefore respond in a spontaneous and often thoughtless manner. We tend to go into what's called survival mode to cope through the triggered wound. The spontaneous manner isn't very helpful because it isn't thought through. We're just trying to get through and manage the situation with our heightened stress levels and our anxieties. These triggers, these vulnerability cycles, may lead to destructive patterns. For instance, if our partner is coming home late one night or going out for dinner with colleagues, if that makes us feel betrayed or abandoned, it could be our vulnerable inner child responding. For example, maybe we had a parent who was often absent and we felt abandoned by them, and this vulnerable cycle is showing up again later in life. Some of the coping mechanisms might be that we start acting suspicious. We might want to control our partner, to look at our partner's phone messages, try and look at their emails, and to see what they're doing. We become quite controlling and we can start attacking, asking, where have you been? Why aren't you there for me? What's going on? What are all these lies? This is more of a reaction to the past wound rather than what's happening right now. Another vulnerability cycle leading to destructive patterns is when we're feeling helpless or overwhelmed and we feel that maybe we can never be good enough for our partner. We don't feel attractive enough. We don't feel intelligent enough. And this can make us feel completely overwhelmed. This also goes back to the resonances from our past, where maybe we didn't feel good enough in another relationship or even didn't feel good enough for our parents. We could always do better. They always expected more. And the coping mechanism that we might have is where we are withdrawn, taking ourselves out of the situation so we don't have to confront our own feelings of helplessness. Alternatively, we might act self-sufficient to show that we don't need our partner's approval because we actually don't feel that we have it anyway, or that we'll get it. Both of these coping mechanisms are unhelpful, as our partner won't understand why we're withdrawing or acting self-sufficient because they won't be aware that they've said or done something which has triggered that old wound in us. One can identify and recognize these vulnerabilities with the help of professionals and also with the help of our network and family. We can understand what the triggers are that open these old wounds that we have. We can move away from the destructive patterns and learn to separate our own wounds, which belong to our past, from problems in our current relationship. And we can work on the relationship then and move on. This is something we've seen quite often in our work with parents and parental conflict, where they come to us feeling very stuck, feeling like they're constantly being attacked or being ignored or misunderstood. And we help them to identify what the wounds from the past are and what the problems in the relationship that are current are. And we can start working on these. That really helps parental couples to move on and collaborate in a much better way rather than to be stuck in these past wounds. Thank you for your time.